it's so long, but the thing is, you can't just do... See, this is the thing. People don't understand. They seem to associate the BullyKutta as one breed, but it's not actually one breed. This is where we're mistaken. I mean, they're all Mastiffs, but there's a variation.
Okay, just go ahead and introduce yourself and talk to us about your dog life journey.
Right, so my name's Imran Malik. I'm currently breeding the ancient Asiatic Mastiff, which is known in the Western world as the BullyKutta, also within the eastern part of the world as the BullyKutta. I've been working on this project for about 5 to 7 years now. Around that time I've been looking. My journey with the dogs actually started as a child when we used to go to Pakistan. My uncles, they used to keep dogs at home for guard purposes. We used to have the Russian Terriers.
Oh, wow.
We used to have little Russian Terriers, and we also had different types of... we had the German Shepherd there. I think it was an Alsatian or a German Shepherd. I can't remember clearly, but, you know, like my vision sort of, I can remember that. And then my other uncles, they used to be into the BullyKuttas. But I never really went down that route of actually looking at them because they were such big dogs, you know. It was just that fear of having big dogs. This is going back to the age of probably 5 to 7 anyway. When I was about, as time went on, we used to go to Pakistan on a regular basis. I started seeing the dogs, started falling in love with animals. And I remember we used to have an old type BullyKutta. My uncle had it. His name was Billu. And that dog was the same height as me. I was about 10 years old. And I used to run around with that dog. And I remember that dog, his jaw, I still remember my uncle telling me that I asked him why his canines broken. And they said this dog, he locked onto a dog so hard that when we tried to release the dog, he wouldn't release. So what happened was they had to put so much pressure that it actually broke his canines. Anyway, that dog retired, and I used to see that. That dog, it just brought something into me. So when I was about 12 years old, about 11, 12 years old, I started falling in love with the bulldog. I started looking into dogs. My main aim was that from the age of 12, 15, my uncle had a Rottweiler. And I used to be there. I stayed with him for 2 years within the UK, and I grew up around that dog. So I started getting used to dogs, big dogs, you know, especially the Rottweiler, because it was known as a vicious dog. I got to know the Rottweiler, so I started getting, you know, feeling confident with other dogs. What happened was that there was a friend of my uncle's. His name was Ray Zamet, and he used to have band dogs, bull mastiffs, St. Bernards, all sorts of breeds. You name giant breeds, he used to have them. So I used to see his dogs, got a bit used to his dogs. And then I started my journey with the American Bulldog because my actual ambition was to bring back the old Bulldog of the 1800s, early 1900s. And when I looked into it, the closest thing I found to it was the American Bulldog. And the American Bulldog, which was known as the old butcher's dog, old English white, southern bulldog, it was actually taken over from United Kingdom, Great Britain at that time, to America. When the migrants went over, they took their dogs over with them. And that dog was preserved, you know, it's more or less in its natural form, within the south of America mainly. So around 98 time, I started getting into the American Bulldog. I actually imported one. The mother was imported. I bought the bitch. It was actually an Alan Scott's bloodline, and the mother was a daughter of Chance, the dog that was homeward bound. Anyway, at that age, I wanted something that was game, you know,
Right.
a dog. You know, when you're at a young age, you just have that mentality that that's what a dog is, gameness. So anyway, I bought this pup, and it was my first American Bulldog. And I thought to myself, first few weeks, I was like, this dog is always sitting behind me, you know, like there's nothing that this dog ever does. It's like, so I phoned up the breeder. I said, look, I'm not happy with the dog. I'm going to send it back. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, bring it back. I'll give you the money that you gave for it. I thought to myself, you know what? I'd rather keep the dog, which was a very good idea, actually, at that point, Sean. Because what happened was, I started showing the dog, and she actually become a grand champion within the United Kingdom. Wow. So did her pup. He was at the show, and they actually pointed out that, you know what, this is one of the finest females that we've seen. Made me very proud of that, you know. So that got me into the dogs more, started looking into the history. So I started getting into with all the dog people. And obviously when I was in that dog shows, I used to get other dogs as well. A lot of people think, yeah, my journey was just the American Bulldog, but it wasn't. I focused on the American Bulldog, 100%. But I was looking at other breeds as well. Sometimes someone would say to me, look, I've got a crossbreed here, can you help me out? I wouldn't want a dog to go to a rescue or go in the wrong hands, because after a few years I started getting the understanding that the animal is not a tool. It's actually a family member. You know, it's got feelings, this, that, and the other. As you get older, you start understanding these things. You know, it's not something that I agree with. Right. But the dog fighting side of the dog of this breed has preserved the dogs. Because if it wasn't for the gameness, we wouldn't have these dogs today.
Right.
So in a way, it's benefited us. But in another way, it hasn't, because it's cruelty to the animal.
Right.
When I got to about 20, I started thinking to myself, hold on a minute. There's a breed that's older than the Bulldog. That's when I started to look into the BullyKutta. I didn't look into it much. I didn't go through the history. I just looked at the formation, the character, and everything. And that's where it all began, really. It all started with my uncles, to be honest with you.
Right.
But what it was with the BullyKutta, it was very, very hard to find the perfect dog. Because I've always looked for dogs I look at the mother. I'm a very strong believer that the mother is the best. If the mother's good, she'll produce well. It's not just about the father. A lot of people believe, the father, but where I've bred different types, I've seen different breedings being done, and where the female's good, the pups have come out good. I mean, it's been done in Pakistan itself. So when I was looking for the BullyKutta, my nephew said to me, he's going, look, there's a breeder in the UK. Why don't you approach him? I said, okay, cool. Let's have a look what he's got. It'd be easier for me. It's going to save me thousands of pounds importing a dog. So I started looking. Anyway, eventually I found one. Before, all the dogs that breeder had were rubbish. There wasn't pure BullyKuttas. In fact, when I done my research, a lot of them dogs come from flea markets and were sold on for a higher price. Right. The quality of the dogs that come first were good. When I saw the father to my female, that's when I realised that, you know what, this is what I need, this is what I'm going to get. I approached the breeder, left him a deposit, and I went and got my female. And I actually said to the breeder at that time, I said this to him. I said, my friend, I don't want to mention his name. I said, keep this female. She's going to be a good dog. I don't mind taking another female. Obviously, I thought this guy is, passionate about it. So I thought, that's his passion. Let him live his passion. I'll advise him. He goes, no, he sold it to me. Anyway, he sold it to me. I brought the female home. I brought her up. Actually, he sold me the female at 6 weeks. I bought her at 6 weeks. So I brought her up from 6 weeks old. And I learned a lot, a because I used to be more or less 24 hours with the dog. I learned so much about that breed just by this one dog.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it really started from. So I got, that was my first dog. And then eventually I imported one as well from Pakistan. I done the breeding within the UK about 3 years ago. My focus was to bring back a breed that's on the verge of extinction, because when we talk further, I'll explain to you about why I've chosen the ancient dogs, not the Asil dog, not the Nagi dog. Why did I choose that out of the bullies? So there's so many people out there, they will say to you, no, it's this, no, it's this. You know what? Unless you do your own research, you go search from village to village, town to town, you go and speak to people, especially the elders. Mm-hmm. You get books going back to the Indus Civilization. You get books going back to the Raj history. Then your knowledge will become powerful for this breed. Otherwise, a lot of people will say, no, this breed is this breed is that, it's got that in it, it's got this in it, it's got that in it. It will carry on, Sean. It will be. And so therefore, I'm glad that you've actually said to me that if you could do this, because I need people to understand what this breed is. Mm-hmm. Because from what I can see, a lot of people hype the dog up for all the wrong reasons. Mm-hmm. I'd like to mention my mentor, actually.
Yeah.
My mentor's name was Ray Zamet. Mm-hmm. I mentioned him to you not long ago. Now, Ray Zamet, he's into construction, but he had a passion for large dogs, large breeds. Any book in the world, you name it, he's got it. When it comes to dogs, pit bulls, whatever, game dogs, mastiffs, pit bulls, bulldogs. And he shared a lot of his knowledge with me, hell of a lot of knowledge. And until this day, I will still go to him. I will still approach him. So, I just wanted to mention Ray, bless him.
That's awesome.
He's done a lot for me. Now he's gone to the French Bulldog because he's old now,
Right. Yeah.
But he's just got a little Frenchie now. But Ray is the man, All my respect goes out to him. He done a lot for me. Hell of a lot. Okay, let's look at the history first.
Yep.
I'm not going to say too much, Sean. Reason being, because I want to actually put it down in my book.
Right.
So everything that I put to you, I'll put to a limit, but I'll explain to you a lot of things that I'll break it down a little bit. I'll take you quite far back. We've got a place in Pakistan which is currently known as Harappa. It's a place in Punjab. Mm-hmm. It was known as a trade route. It's where it was where the Indus Civilization was. Have you heard of the Indus Civilization?
No, I haven't.
So the Indus Civilization was a civilization known to be before the time of the Babylonians. Mm-hmm. So it's probably one of the oldest civilizations out there. And they were very modern, actually, because when we look back, they actually had drainage systems as well. They had drainage systems. They had other things that we have in the modern world, more or less.
Right.
So they were very advanced at that time as well. Now, when they were excavating, what happened was they found animal figurines. They found one particular one which actually looked like the BullyKutta. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And these dogs, this clay figurine that was found was a dog figurine made of terracotta. It was found in Harappa, and it shows the domestication of the dogs. But if you look at the dog, big head, wide head, big body, thick bone set, just goes to show us that the bully was there. Mm-hmm. And not just that, we've got pictures. The Assyrian dogs. Mm-hmm. If you look at them, you can see the Asil dog. So we can go back to then. Not just that, that was a trade route. So nowadays we have a lot of programs coming on. We've got like Princess of Spain, the Vikings, we've got Ertugrul, we've got, all these old documents that are coming on now.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you watch some of them, they actually show how the trade route used to work. For example, Turkey to Syria. There'd be a trade route going there, and it'd go further east. So my strong belief is, and I will be writing about this, is the origins of the Mastiff was the east. That dog was brought over towards the west.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously different breeds were added to obviously make a different functioning dog for whatever purpose. Then, if we leave the Indus Civilization, we carry on a bit, we can go back to Alexander the Great's time. It says that he was elders tell me this story, and it's not just once that I've heard this. I've heard it a few times, that there was a dog at the time of Alexander the Great, and Jahangir had this dog, King Jahangir, and what they done was they put this dog in the ring. They put this dog in the ring to show him the gameness, because Alexander was known for his mastiffs.
Mm-hmm.
So what they done was they put it in, and the king said, chop the dog's leg off, or cut a certain part of his body. That dog didn't squeal. Then the dog was, not that same dog. Alexander was very proud of this dog that, look, wow, he's not even made a noise. So he was gifted a dog at the kings of that time. He was gifted a dog, and that dog stayed with him for quite a while. It is said that that dog would be very good with him. With all the soldiers and everyone, he'd roam freely, do what he's got to do. But when Alexander would put his uniform on, when he would be ready to go to war, that dog would stand beside him and have his aim on what his job is, what his purpose is. Now, God knows how much truth there is in that.
Right.
But a lot of the elders tell us this story because Alexander the Great in Pakistan, in these countries, is known as Sikandar-e-Azam. Okay, before 1947, it was India. The whole place was called India.
Mm-hmm.
There was no Pakistan, there was no Bangladesh, this was all one place. But the presence of the BullyKutta has always been in the part of Pakistan.
Mm-hmm.
Always. There's always been there. And it's been preserved there. So today the BullyKutta cannot be called an Indian Mastiff. Why? Because it's been preserved in Pakistan since 1947. It was not preserved in India. Because if it was preserved in India, they wouldn't need to import dogs from Pakistan. There's a story about the first dog that crossed into India from the border. There was no borderline. An old bully, he actually crossed the border. Some people called this dog a BullyKutta, an old type he was actually. They wouldn't give the dog back, and there's nothing no one can do about it. Obviously, since partition, there's been conflict.
Right.
That was a sole beginner. Now that dog was bred with a local dog, and they become a line that they claim to be theirs. I'm not going to mention it, but India claims it to be theirs. A lot of dogs, there is Mastiffs in India. There is, but there is more of the hairy type Mastiff instead of the short coat Mastiff.
Uh-huh.
Not just that, the BullyKutta within itself is a breed. It's the only breed that has what it has. You can't have two types of it, if you know what I mean. Like the head set, the tail set, the body. Every specific BK has its bit. We've got a Kumail Mastiff in India. You get them in Pakistan as well. around Pakistan. I've seen them myself. It's supposed to be a guardian dog, and they reckon it's actually on the verge of extinction. It could be, but last time I saw that particular breed was about 8 years ago in a village. So then, if we carry on a bit further, a lot of people claim that the BullyKutta was present in the UK. It came into the UK around 2000. You know, for first imports, Sean. But it didn't. I've actually got evidence and solid proof that the BullyKutta was actually in the United Kingdom in 1860.
Wow.
It was a female. She was owned by the Prince of Wales, and her name was Rani. She was a prize-winning champion at the second International Dog Show, which was held in, I think it was Islington. Yeah, I'm sure it was Islington, but it was held within the UK. I've got the picture of this dog. I've actually got the original portrait, and she was number 15. So that just goes to show us that the dog was present here then. Do you know what I mean? They actually brought a dog over to the United Kingdom.
Wow.
And if we think about it, the Mastiff before the early 1900s wasn't really much of a Mastiff. Very slim, tender dog.
Right.
But could she have been used? I mean, royalty, as we know, have large breeds, don't they, within the United Kingdom?
Yes.
Could she have been used? Could there be a bloodline of Old English Mastiff come from there? Who knows? How do we know? We don't know. It could be. There's so much history, Sean. There's so many little, even if we look at old paintings. I've got old Victorian paintings in my books, going back even further back than the Victorian era, where there's big, large, Mastiff type dogs that are, they're calling them other breeds, but when you look at the dog, it is the BullyKutta. I've seen exactly the same dog that I've had myself on a picture, but hundreds of years ago. Exactly the same, exactly, copy to copy. But obviously the paintings differ, don't they? It doesn't get this perfect shape of the dog, or you know how our photo would. You know, there's so much evidence out there. We've just got to find it. We've got to talk to the right people. You know, we've got to find the right people. Don't get me wrong, there is crossbreeding going on. There's a lot of it going on. That's why the ancient bloodlines are more or less going extinct. Because they don't use them anymore. They don't use them as much. You know, there's a picture of a dog, a black Mastiff called Pluto in 1830. The owner was a Mr. Quibb of Hertford, I believe. I think it was Mr. Quibb. I'm not too sure. Again, sorry, got no references here at the moment. I had a dog similar, looked exactly the same. You know, so it just goes to show that did the BK actually just stay in one place, or a lot of people today claim that the BullyKutta is an English dog. Okay, how is it an English dog? Let's sit at this table now and let's decide how it's an English dog. When I've just got a DNA saying that there's nothing English in it, firstly. Secondly, Mastiffs was chipped over. When they went to India, they actually took Mastiffs. I believe they took 8 Mastiffs and only 2 survived. Only 2 survived. And that time, a lot of the dogs that were kept, they were kept in, you know, you could say village, this, that, and the other. But say, for example, they got hold of a BullyKutta, they crossed it with a Mastiff. The first generation would be a crossbreed, but what are they going to do with the next generations? Do you know what I mean, Sean?
Right.
The blood's gonna flow out, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not gonna carry on. It's not gonna stay there. We're talking about 100 years ago. So that theory, whatever theory people have got in their heads of it being that the British come over, they bred their dogs, and there we go, we've got the British breed. No, it was originally in the East. It comes from the East. It is the origin of the dog. From there, I believe, personally, I'm 100% that the Mastiff come from there. Don't get me wrong, there was a Celt Mastiff here within Scotland. But what do we know about it? There's not much we know about that dog, do we? I mean, that dog's been shown on the Dog Fighting World. I think the book's called the Fighting Dog World. A Complete History of Fighting Dogs by Mike Homan. If you look at that dog on there as well, that was a Celt dog. But if we look at it as well, we look at the bully, we see a lot of similarities as well. You know, so there's a lot of history there, and I will put it all together. It will make sense, you know, because a lot of people say, no, the BullyKutta's got this in it, the BullyKutta's got that in it. There's one type of BullyKutta only, Sean, that has that. And obviously further on as we talk, I'll explain that to you. Yeah, bandog is a Saxon word, banda, meaning a chain. So in terms of dog, is a dog with a chain, free to roam in the evening. Yeah. There's even in the British Museum evidence of dogs going back to the Nineveh city of Iraq, ancient Assyria, 850 BC. And there's descriptions of powerful built dogs, good bones, set thick, big head, short muzzle, loose skin, dewlap, you know. So there's so much, Sean. We just need to search for it. We need to find it. And God bless everything. You know, all I've gone through, I've got it all there. I just need to put it together. Yeah. But the thing is, what they do is, I'll give you an example. There's a hunting dog they use in Pakistan. It looks a bit like a lurcher. Mm-hmm. They've crossed that with a BullyKutta. If they're using it for hunting purposes, maybe it's got a bit more game. You know, so people have crossed dogs over centuries, over periods, for working type. Yeah. This pedigree rubbish has come out not long ago, early 1900s. Dog show started late 1800s. You know, all this pedigree thing, this come out afterwards. And you know yourself, Sean, to get a pedigree dog, you have to definitely, one way or another, you got to do line breeding. Yeah. To be honest with you, Sean, there's not really a modern BullyKutta. Mm-hmm. Because if we look at it, okay, there's 4 types. I don't really like to mention this, yeah, but we've got the Purana bully, which is also known as a Tulla bully. It's not a Tulla bully. This name was given in the United Kingdom. Tulla is actually a surname for people. Mm-hmm. Some people say that it is a definition of a Punjabi word meaning heavily wrinkled, you know, but I can't say that for 100%. A few people have said it is, a few people have said no, it's not. So what we got to remember is there's over 100 languages or so in Pakistan anyway, so it could be. Right. So we've got that. We've got old type, the ancient Asiatic Mastiff, as I call it. And we've got an Asil dog, which is the more taller, leaner one. Mm-hmm. Then we've got the Nagi BullyKutta, which was created in the 60s. Then we've got the Babuli, which is known as a Pakistani Bulldog. Okay. So we've got 4 different types. But what have you noticed a similarity in them? Bully. Right. Everything is called bully. Why is it called bully? Because it's got the bulldog look. Right. That's what it is. That's what it all comes down to. Bully is heavily wrinkled dog. BullyKutta means dog. That's what Kutta stands for. So we can't actually say, yeah, that everything is a BullyKutta, because it's not. Everything's different. Let's start with the oldest of them, which is known as a Purana bully. I call it. It is the ancient Asiatic Mastiff. It's also known as a Baramubuli, Bolabuli, and in the West the name has been given the Tulabuli. Now, that's one type that we've got. Now this dog, maximum height, 33 inches, maximum. Heavy head, heavy dewlaps. The dog has a big, heavy bone set. The body is completely different to what you'd see. You know, like how could I say? You know, like an English Mastiff is a stocky, big bone dog.
Right.
You know, not that bulk on it. So we've got that, you know. It's actually, you know, you could actually say it could be a man stopper. Mm-hmm. You know. We've got that. Now that dog, now what it is with them, they have a heavy skull, thick necks, the bone mass is very thick. They have loose hanging double dewlap. Mm-hmm. So basically two-sided wrinkles. They have, how do I put it, almond type eyes. Mm-hmm. They have wrinkles under their eyes. They are mainly in white. Now this is another thing. They come in white a lot, but predominant colour is brindle as well. Right. You need to remember, brindle is a predominant colour within this breed. Okay? Solid, rare, bicoloured gene they've got basically. So what also happens is the old type mainly come in white, but they will always have black spots under their skin. So when you wash the dog, you see it. Mm-hmm. You see, you know, like the Dalmatian comes up.
Right.
But these have under their skin black dots. Mm-hmm. You know, there's a heavy head. You know, minimum height requirement is probably for a male is about 31. Females could be 29 to about 33. They have a well-sprung rib cage, you know, whereas the others don't. You know, they're very heavy shoulders, heavy neck. Put it this way, it's like a bodybuilder of the dogs on steroids. Without steroids, without a definition.
Right.
Okay? I mean, there is more to it. There is more to it, Sean. There's a lot more to it. But I'm just giving you a brief description of what people can identify the dogs by.
Perfect.
You know, the other thing about the old dog is they don't use them now for fighting.
Right.
Why they don't use them? Because they want faster game.
Right.
They want faster game, and what it is, the pressure on this dog's jaw is such that when it grabs its opponent, it doesn't let go. You might even have to break the teeth. And then they wrestle. They don't fight. So that's caused a decline off that bloodline.
Right.
Slowly. Don't get me wrong, there is some out there that will fight. But they won't fight like they're intended to. Some people will do that. They will push it to that. But majority of the pure are not fighters. They're fighters, don't get me wrong, they can have it, but they're not what us humans desire is. So what they do with them dogs, they usually leave them, tie them up. I mean, I've seen them myself, Sean. I've gone to places in Pakistan where I've seen the old ancient BullyKuttas, and I've ended up there going in the middle of nowhere. And check this out. There's no electric. It's just the sticks. Is they living life like we was living hundreds of years ago. Right. They've still got them dogs sitting there, tied up. I'm like, why are you keeping them dogs there? Oh, that dog's not used for fighting. That's our guard dog. We will let him off the chain at night, and he will patrol our land. And they're very territorial. You know, like a cat, it'll piss in its territory.
Yes.
They don't leave that territory. The BullyKutta does this back home. Right. We haven't experienced this here because in the West, because we don't have that much land to do it on.
Right.
Maybe in the States. you could do it.
Oh, absolutely.
But not in the UK. They mark their territories. They won't go outside their territories. I've seen this with my own eyes, you know. And the Purana bully is such a loving breed.
Mm-hmm.
Remember this: if a BullyKutta makes an enemy of you, yeah, it will never forget.
Right.
Like an elephant will never forget. My Roma was about 6 months old. Very friendly dog, would like to socialise with other dogs, would like to meet other dogs. See, this is where people mistake the BullyKutta. It's not a vicious breed. A dog is what you make it.
Right.
I mean, bless the pit bull. Such a brilliant dog. I've read so much about it. I've got the Bible off the pit bull. It's such a beautiful dog. But what's made it like that? People.
Mm-hmm.
Early 1900s, all the people, the British, the American army was using it on their posters. Why would they do that if it was a vicious breed? Why was they showing the dog like that? It's us. It's what we make our dogs, Sean.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's always that. We can't always blame the dog. Don't get me wrong, a lot of the BullyKuttas are wild, literally a wild dog. It's like taming a wild dog. But that wildness can still be tamed because it's a dog. It was bred for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to be honest with you, we actually, as I'm a Muslim, and as Muslims, we actually believe that they were created to guard the souls.
Right.
Why are you messing up the breed just to get a look and make £2,000 per pup?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the ancient type dog, I've got pure ancient type dogs that are barking at 11, 12 days old. I mean, 15, 16 days old. What the hell's going on here? As soon after they open their eyes, they're bloody at it. I've never seen that.
Mm.
And in a few months, they're so big that you think to yourself, are you a little, you know, like the size of a staff?
Yeah.
It's the growth, the bone structure. The thing is, the bone structure of the BK, this, a lot of people don't understand this as well. People need to understand this about the Pakistani breed. I'm talking about all the BullyKutta.
Mm-hmm.
Do not overfeed your dogs.
Right.
Always keep them good bone structure, because their bone structure develops till 13 weeks old. I've been told this by people, vets in Pakistan. I've been told this by dog men in Pakistan who've never been to a vet. So obviously it makes some sense. You know? Do not overfeed them. Do not start giving your dogs Bully Max. Do not start putting chemicals in your dogs.
Right.
Whatever happens, never do that. Anyway, that's that rant over. So let's look at a seal dog now then. So this is a very popular breed. This is the top breed of the BullyKutta. The seal is very common. The seal can go from up to 36 inches, Sean, in height, shoulder length. From toe to shoulder, that's how they measure it. It can go up to that high, it can even go higher. There's been times where the dogs have gone higher, but it's not always the case. So we would put the average height as 36. The seal dog has a longer body, less thicker bone.
Mm-hmm.
The muzzle's thinner than the Purana bully. But one thing I want people to understand as well is that, you know, the BullyKutta within itself, it has a 1-to-1 ratio of the cranium and the muzzle, 1-to-1 ratio. And the only breed known that has that is the feeler.
Okay.
That's the only other breed that has known that. And this was done about 5 years ago. This research was done by vets in Lahore, actually, in Pakistan. They used 4 different types of BK to do that, of different bloodlines. Bloodlines there are known by people. For example, you've got your dogs. You know, they're going to be called, I don't know, Scott's line or Sean's line or Brian line. Eats line or whatever, that's how a bloodline is known out there. But let's go back to, description of the Asil dog. So the Asil dog, the head circumference is much smaller. It's a thinner head. The eyes are not almond. The mixed dogs will have almond. They have just normal eye set. Longer body. They're well-sprung rib cage. They have a good rib cage, put it that way. It's similar to the Pulas, but the ancient dog, but not as much. Longer, thinner. It's a completely different dog. If you look at the type, it's different. And not just that, I forgot to mention to you, the tail set of the ancient BullyKutta is longer. So as the dog grows up to 6 months, that tail will sit on the floor, Sean.
Wow.
That tail is thick and thin. It thins. But with the Asil, it's thick, but it's thin. It thins, and it sometimes overlaps them. Sometimes it can stand straight.
Right.
But sometimes it will curve, but it won't curve completely. Like we see I'll give you a Rottweiler, for example, where when it's got a tail, it'll curve, won't it?
Right.
This won't curve. The Asils can come in a variation of colour. We don't in all the BullyKuttas that we will talk about. None of them have these. What do you call it? Like we get the American bullies. What's that colour called? Harlequin and all this.
Yeah.
You don't get that. You get a blue one. You might even get one that's like red and black and white. Sometimes we get a pit bull like that.
Right.
You might get that one off. The majority of the time you don't. It's like the blue colour, like the grey. It's more or less a grey, but that is very rarely you find it. Sometimes you might find them. And another thing is about their nose. All BullyKuttas, this goes for all BullyKuttas, their nose cannot be pink. Their eyes cannot be yellow. The ancient type will chuck out a pink nose. Mm-hmm. It will. But that could be 1 in a million chance. Mm-hmm. And there's been known to be that the ancient dogs have done that. And the pigmentation, it doesn't get better. It stays pink.
Right.
Some of it will be black, some of it will be pink. That you'll get, but no BullyKutta. We've got the Asil type, we've got the Purana bully, we've got the Nagi bully, we've got the Daba bully. None of these dogs will have pink noses, yellow eyes. They will always have brown, like hazily eyes, brown eyes. That is their eyes, dark eyes. They call it black eyes in Pakistan.
Right.
Obviously in the West we've got green eye, brown eye, yellow eye. We've got all this. But in Pakistan, it's not.
Right.
And not just that, they don't. In Pakistan, they don't favour them either. The pink nose, the yellow eye is mainly of crossbreed. Right. Majority. We can influence the Guldare in there. Oh yeah, we've got the Bulldog as well. So yeah, which is a crossbreed. Right. Then we've got the Nagi. The Nagi was created around the 60s, 70s. It was created by a doctor. I can't remember his name. I've got it written down somewhere, Sean. Apologise again.
No worries.
But that was created around then. A Nagi is always black. Remember this. A Nagi BullyKutta is always black. Mm-hmm. The eye set is a bit almondy, but with no wrinkle. Black, solid dog. Solid. It will be solid. It will be like it will be like a cane corso type dog, right, but with thicker skin. The Nagi is slim, athletic, and it's black. Nagi reaches about 36 inches. A Nagi is actually a crossbred BullyKutta. It was a BullyKutta, a pure Asil type BullyKutta crossed with a greyhound to make the perfect game dog. Mm-hmm. That was the production of the Nagi, and today the Nagi is a very, very popular breed. Nagi to Nagi has been used. But the origins of the Nagi are 60s, 70s, so it's a new breed.
Right.
We can class that as a new breed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll ask you just a little bit about the Nagi. Was it created for hunting and fighting, or just fighting?
It was created for fighting because they wanted more game out of the dog. The Tazi was used, which is similar to the Greyhound, with the BullyKutta, but in villages. People use them in their villages. They won't use them, wild boar hunting, because these dogs don't have no problems taking down wild boars without any shielding, without any protection.
I believe it.
So you could test this breed to anything, and it will do it. Whatever function you want from this breed, it is capable of doing, Sean. It can even, their sense of smell is even so good, Sean, they will recognise different scents. But people don't do this with the breed. They don't check it, Sean. Anyway, going back to describing about the dogs, so we've gone through the Purana, we've gone through their seal, we've gone through the Nagi. Now I'm going to talk to you about the Dabba Bully. The Dabba Bully maximum height is 32 inches. Dabba is known as a box. A complete history of fighting dogs. The dog on the front page looks like a Dabba Bully, but with a bit of a longer muzzle. The Dabba Bully is the Pakistani Bulldog. It's known as a Pakistani Bulldog.
Okay.
I haven't done no DNA on this breed. I haven't gone out my way to do that. But I can tell you one thing, that this breed is just like the American Bulldog. Very similar traits, very similar headsets, the Johnson type. It's predominantly white, mainly white. It's very difficult that they will produce other colours. You know, this nature, we can't mess around with nature. You know, they will produce different colours.
Right.
You know, but predominantly white. Or it might have a little black spot on it. But that's what it is. That's a Dabba Bully. It's not. There's a lot out there that have been crossed, but to find the perfect Dabba Bully, you have to do a lot of. It's not as easy as people think it is. You can find them. Don't get me wrong, but people like to cross the dogs, with the asil for game. This is another thing. If it wasn't for the gameness in Pakistan, we wouldn't have these dogs today, Sean. They'd be extinct. They'd be gone. So, in that way, in a way we can thank them. But the Dabba Bully is predominantly white, 32 inches max, 29, 30, the female as well, thick bone set, thick tail set. The tail's not as long as the Purana Bully, nor will it be as long as a Asil Bully. It's got a thick chest. It's got a thick chest when it sits, the chest will stick out. Not as much as the other bullies either. We could say that it matches the American Bulldog. We know the description of an American Bulldog would be more or less the same as a Dabba Bully. So there's not much there. I mean, a lot of people don't even look into it. A lot of people don't even know about it. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I've had Dabba Bullies in the past as well, and they're very game. They used a lot for hunting big game. But now, obviously, the decline of big game, the decline of, we as human beings are taking over nature. We're just getting rid of everything that has a purpose, really. But the Dabba Bully, we class it as a bulldog. It is more or less the Pakistani Bulldog.
Okay.
Well, we've got Punjab, we've got Sindh, we've got towards the Afghan border. A lot of the the bulldog type is more or less towards the Afghan border side, towards Balochistan, towards that end.
Okay.
So more northeast, more towards the west, I guess. But it's a heavy dog. It's a man stopper. It's a proper man stopper. Right. As we say today, the description is given. It's a man stopper.
Right.
I went to Pakistan. I've got two farms in Pakistan where I keep my dogs. I've got one in Faisalabad, next to the airport. I'm building another one at the moment. You can add this to another bit if you want. But obviously while I'm talking, it's going to be everywhere. You're going to be editing all night, you are, Sean. Anyway.
Yeah.
When we look at that, I've got them kennels, I've got dogs there, I've got cattle there, I've got white sheep there. My dogs, you know what they do? They sleep with the dog. They sleep with the goats. You can't see them. When I check on the cameras, I can't see my dogs. And there's been a few times I'm like, where's the dogs? They're like, what do you mean, sir? The dogs are here. No, they're not. Go and find my dogs. There's 8 dogs there. Where are they? This is one kennel I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The dogs are hiding within the sheep. Within the, you know. And there's a threat. They will deal with that threat. The only pure bullies that you're going to find is going to be the Purana bully, the Asil bully, and the Dabba. The Nagi is a mixed breed. And so is the Bulldog. Nagi is pure. Obviously, it's Nagi to Nagi breeding, but it's still a crossbreed, isn't it? The foundation was cross, wasn't it?
Right.
So that's it. And now I'm going to introduce the Kanda bully to you. Now, the Kanda bully is a very, very rare breed. If you look on my page, you'll see one. It's very rare. Why is it rare? I'll explain to you why it's rare. The Kanda bully is a BullyKutta cross a Gulter.
Okay.
That becomes a Guldong. But the father and the mother have to be of champion lines. The dad has to be a champion within his own self.
Mm-hmm.
Or his line is champion. No losers in that line. Now you know and I know that is very difficult to find. The Gulter, same. It doesn't matter so much because of the female, or even the other way around. Now we've got that. Now we've produced a Guldong. The other cross will be the same, Sean. So we're doing Guldong now.
Mm-hmm.
Now when Guldong and Guldong are cross, we get the Kanda bully. Why is it called the Kanda bully? Because it's so hard to produce. Only the champions, only the purest of the purest will be used, which is very hard to find. That's why it's named the Kanda bully, because it's a champion.
Okay.
From all sides. A Guldong, I can get a BullyKutta and a Guwahati Gulter and cross them. But can I prove that they're champions in the bloodline? I can't.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the Kanda bully is, bro.
Okay, interesting.
But the thing is with the BullyKutta, all in all, the BullyKutta in itself is completely different breed of dog to any breed out there. Its nature is, I put it like this: Rottweiler, German Shepherd, a Cane Corso, a Pit Bull. You put all these dogs together, all their intelligence, all the things that they're able to do, a retriever, the BullyKutta can do it. You know, people used to say to me, oh yeah, BullyKutta, yeah, it doesn't really like water much. I used to make my dog swim, all of them.
Wow.
Make my dog swim, chuck them in the mud. I've done, Sean, everything I've done, people have told me you can't do, and I've done it with the breed. Mm-hmm. Everyone will come up with their own thing. Everyone will come out with their own theory. But the truth is, the breed belongs to Pakistan. It is a Pakistani breed. It's got nothing to do with India. India's trying to claim the name for it. Now, I'd like to tell you one thing though, Sean. If you want to add it. Make sure you always check what you're buying. Make sure these people are not selling you crossbreeds. They will show you pictures. They will show you this. They will show you that. They will make you believe. And you know what, Sean? I've noticed one thing. A lot of these breeders come and they're gone. They do their thing, make a bit of money and go.
Right.
Are you thinking about the breed or are you thinking about your pocket? Show me the dog. I want to see the dog's bloodline. I want to see where that dog comes from. I want proof.
Mm-hmm.
I want proof because I can get you proof. When I give you a dog, Sean, I'll tell you this is the bloodline, this is the mum, this is the dad, and I've even got photos of some of my dogs' bloodline. In Pakistan, it's a word of mouth. Yeah?
Right.
So it's not about, there is no pedigree. There is no, pedigree doesn't exist. So, for example, my breed now will be known as Malik's breed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
These are Malik's dogs. You know, so this is how the breed line continues, name continues. And the thing is, we need to preserve these, and you know what? The only country in the West that can preserve them properly is the United States of America.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that, personally, I feel that.